And she gave us a good example of an amphibian was a frog, Louise. Okay, who can give me another category of vertebrate? Colin?
Reptiles.
Reptiles. And who can tell me one thing they remember about reptiles? Montavious?
They're cold-blooded and they have scales. They're warm-blooded and they have scales.
You were right the first time. They're cold-blooded and they do have scales. Okay. What was another class of vertebrates we had? Augustine? Fish. Okay. Who can tell me something about fish? Marion.
They have gills.
Gills. And what do they use the gills for?
To breathe in the water.
For breathing. Good. And we another category of vertebrate. Keith?
Birds.
Birds. And who can tell me something about birds?
They all have beaks and wings.
Good, yes, okay. And the last one we talked about was, Lisbon?
Mammals.
Yes, good job, mammals. And one thing you can tell me about mammals, Kiana?
Mammals are the highest class of backbones.
Excellent, okay. So they're small pieces, so be careful. When they're on, maybe choose one desk to put them on, and I want to see if you can classify them into those 5 groups with your team.
Who has mammals?
Yeah, you guys are confused, man. Yeah.
This is fish.
Create new classifications for vertebrates. So you're not going to look at these anymore. You're going to create your own.
Sleep all day.
We classified by if they were extinct or endangered.
Good. So they chose 2 different ways. So that was interesting. They chose one way to classify how they moved, and then they thought, oh, well, remember when we were talking about extinct and endangered animals? So they went and added that to their second classification. Start talking about classifying instruments. What type of instruments did we bring out, Augustine? Okay, that was one example. What was that group of instruments called? Percussion instruments. And then Tori was going ahead and telling us what types of classification we use for the percussion instruments, okay? So how did we classify them? What was one group we had of percussion instruments on, Tori?
Metal.
The metals, okay? Okay, so we tap it. And this part that was making the sound is made out of what substance? Metal, so that's why it was called a metal. And I want to see if you can classify those instruments into those 5 categories.
That's a shaker.
This is made of metal, but look how I play it. What do? Shake it. So this will be a shaker. These, what am I doing here? Scraping, Keith. But if I play them like this, okay, then it's the wood making the sound. I want you to talk with your team and decide another way, a new way you could classify those instruments.
No, we're doing by green. I got green and red. They shake.
One category would be on each desk. Because I'm going to have you looking at other instruments, so I want the categories to be very clear. And write about what category is shown on your tables right now. So you're going to go around to the other tables and see if you can figure out how they classify those instruments. Conclusion, what do you think? Table 1 was classifying their instruments with what criteria? What do you think, China?
Shape or color.
Okay, she said shape and color. What did you think, Don Tori?
Like, most of it was by membranes.
Okay, so if they had one group of membranes, what was the other group then?
By shakers and metal.
So you think they just used the ones that we originally had? I want you to discuss the process that we talked about today for categorizing and classifying in science and music. I want you to tell me what we did, okay? Why we did it, why you think it's important to classify and categorize.